All right, let's talk about your new album, Sugar Lies and Denial. What inspired you to start creating that album?
That album, I have to go back a little bit. So that album started right after, if not in the middle of recording our debut record, Kiss the World Goodbye. I had started writing songs that were a little different from what we were going for in that phase of Half Past Dead. That was kind of our more like metal core kind of thing. Whereas I was like, I'm trying to experiment more with melody and a little less harsh vocal and like, because I think it's someone's car is exploding outside. That's hilarious. But wait, that's my car. Uh, so Sugar Lies, the first track I think I wrote for that, which was before I even thought of doing a record, was Falling from the Stars, and that was in 2019. So up to like I think the last song I wrote for that was The Worst Part or something, and that was like weeks before we even dropped it. I really wanted to sort of have carve out our own identity because we're all fans of like classic rock and funk and classical, and so it's not just the same vein of like hard rock, metal, punk kind of thing. I'm like, let's really draw inspiration from a lot of different things, and so it's just sort of a an amalgamation of different things that happened throughout my life, lyrically at least, and I just kind of fused it all together, and that's kind of what it is. Life is there's I think it's the phrase is there's no such thing as a lie, just truth dipped in sugar, and I like that. And so I look at everything that I've done from that first song up through when I finished recording it, and there was a lot of ups and downs, and so I said let me make a record about you know the realities of just living as a human being in the world, but add a little humor into it. I tried to make the music sound like our stage show, entertaining, fun, catchy, and with Half Past Dead, we always just try to do what we want to do. We don't try and say, "Oh, what about this? Will this sell? Is this what people want to hear?" We don't really care about that. I mean, to a certain degree, we want to make sure that we're putting out stuff that's good, but we have to make sure that we care about it and that we like it. And that's what Sugar Lies really is. It's just it just started as us deciding, hey, let's just write to write. Let's not think about what genre this is. Let's just write good music. And since then, that's kind of been our whole, MO is like, who cares whether this song is like sounds more country and this one sounds like heavy metal and this one sounds like Prince wrote it. It's if it's good and we like it, it goes on the record.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's got something for everybody. If you don't like the heavy stuff, well, just wait and skip four songs in. There's something there for the pop punk fans. There's something there for the R&B fans. There's something there for the musical theater fans, and there's heavier stuff in there too. So again, it's just a big conglomerate of stuff that is different, but it still sounds like the same artist.
Yeah. What's your favorite track?
Oh, don't ask me that. Um, I think lyrically, Auburn Skies, which I wrote, I remember writing that in college. I have, I don't think I'm gonna top the word choice that I wrote with that one. It's very beautiful. Um, yeah, it's something I wrote about my own personal journey about you know accepting the negativity in life and choosing to find the silver lining. And it just kind of it's sort of a self-motivation song, and I think that's something a lot of people need. I noticed that there's so many people that are heavily influenced by what others think and the pressures that society puts on them, and it's like, well, yeah, you can look at life through that very narrow scope and say, I have to do these things to please these people and check off these boxes. But do any of those make you happy? And if they don't, you need to pick yourself up and find whatever that is and do it unapologetically, regardless of whatever people think. And no matter what's happened to you, you can overcome. And I think that's something that, means a lot to me, and it's very beautiful. And I love that song. However, I think the most fun song on the record's got, for me at least, has got to be "I'm in Love with the Devil." It's a staple in our live show. It's super fun to sing. It's very, Prince coded. I'm a big Prince fan, and so like I try to put a lot of harmonies in there and a lot of like funky grooves. Um, and I sneak little line. I do this in a lot of our songs. I try to sneak song titles from like bands that we like. Like for example, in the first line of "I Love the Devil," I lost my mind. I'm going blind, and I'm crazy from the heat. Crazy from the heat was David Lee Roth's debut EP after he left Van Halen. So just little things like that. I think are funny and I think are clever, and it's just fun for me. So I think those two are neck and neck.
Would you say that you found what you were looking for in life by starting Half Past Dead?
Yeah, well, I think it found me. When people ask me this a lot, they go, "Well, I'm the kind of person that I need constant stimulation. I I can't get overstimulated. In fact, I quite often overstimulate everybody else. I have Labrador energy, but I think it's because ever since I was a baby, I was my parents just were playing music in the background all the time, and it was just always there. And I went through as any kid does. I want to be a vet. I want to be a fireman or whatever. But from a very early age, I was like, I want to do something with music. And so I started writing from a young age, and eventually, I formed my band, and I said, yeah, I think the first show that I ever really did with it, when we blew everyone out of the water, and they were really mad about it. I was like, yeah, I like this. This makes me feel like I'm doing something, and more importantly, I tried to make a point to have the band be more than just sound. There's purpose behind it, and there's meaning for me initially. And then I found that our fans, which they're so amazing, they reach out and they say, hey, this stuff and this song or these words or whatever, it gets me through my day. And for me, music gets me through my day, and it got me through the worst times and the best times. And you know I always say that Half Past Dead, at least for me, and I don't want to speak for my band members, but I think I can when I say this. It's like ingrained in our personality. It's ingrained in who we are. Like wherever I go, the band goes. Whether that's physically or metaphorically. We are always, carrying that shield. And like this is who we are. And Half Past Dead is, it's woven into the fabric of our being. And I think without it there'd be no us, and without us there'd be no it. And so it's just like it's so symbiotic. There's no separating, especially for me, because I started this band when I was 14 years old. I'm 26 now, so it's pretty much wherever I go it goes.
That was like the most poetic answer to that question I could have ever imagined.
Thank you. I have been reading a lot of Shakespeare. I really try to be as upfront and honest about that kind of thing. And we're a goofy, fun party kind of band, but there's a level of we take it seriously, and we want people to know that underneath that fun exterior is like that's the whole point. Music's supposed to make you feel good. Even if it's a sad song, you can feel like someone out there relates to you. And that's what we're all about. It's about community and living your life, and that's what the band name comes from. It's about a long time ago when we recorded our first EP when I was in high school. The line in the song is "Don't live your life like you're half past dead." It's more of a as a warning than it is a um, an embracing lyric. It's about when everyone's gonna die one day, you get one life, and I want to make sure that when I'm on my deathbed, I did everything that I wanted to, and there's no you know I'll put it this way. Somebody told me once, they were much older than me, um, that you don't regret the things that you did in life. You regret the things you didn't do. And that is something that we champion that attitude so much because, you know, with music in any sort of and any vein of career or whatever it is that you do, there's no guarantees. I could get hit by a bus today, but I want to make sure that I lived and did everything that I really cared about, because if I am going to die or something's going to happen to me, God forbid, I want to go out the way, that I would feel fulfilled. I wouldn't feel empty. And so that's where we stand on that. It's a fun band, but ultimately what we're trying to do is make everyone aware that, you're in charge of yourself. You're in charge of your life. No one else can tell you what to do, where to go, how to do it, only you. And you got to find that power within you because it is inside of you. I think just a lot of, as life goes on, you're told and told and told by authority, no, you have to do it this way. Don't dream. Hey, we're going to medicate you, and that's no way to live. And I think everybody realizes that. They're afraid, whether that's because of ridicule or whatever it is. But we're here to say, fear no longer. We're doing it.
What would you say to people who think like, I don't know if you've ever seen, I don't know, in the media about the debate of choosing a major in college or a career path based on money and then based on your passion. I see a lot of people asking, what would you do if money didn't matter? What would you say to those people?
I always go back to this Bob Marley quote, which is something that I adore this quote. And it's from an interview. So I'll be doing my best to do both the interviewer and Bob Marley. The interviewer asked Bob, he goes like, do you make a lot of, he goes, are you rich? And Bob says, well, what do you mean rich? He goes, do you have a lot of money, a lot of possessions? And he says, possessions make you rich? I don't have these riches. My riches are life eternal. Right. So I'm not to say that money isn't important. You got to be able to provide for yourself. And I have a college degree. I have a degree in music and music business, but I did it because I wanted to. I wasn't forced into it. And if someone tried to force me into it, I'd go the other way. I'm just a natural rebel. I haven't seen any of the Harry Potter movies. People are going to kill me now, purely because everyone, when I was a little kid, was like, you got to watch them. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna. Maybe that's a little too far. But my point is, don't chase things that are temporary. You know, don't chase money. I mean, unless it's something you really, really care about. But odds are, I don't think it is what people care about. I think people want to be happy. They want to be fulfilled. They want to do things they're passionate about. Because at the end of the day, like, you don't get to take it with you. The only thing that when you ultimately pass away, it's not what you bring with you, it's what you leave behind. And if people want to go get a degree for money for security reasons, hey, I'm all for it. If people want to go and, pack up their van and live out in the desert, I'm all for it. Whatever makes you happy, just as long as it isn't compelled and insisted upon by outside forces that conflict with your heart.
Completely agree with that. I'm gonna be honest, I was on sort of like the money side before like last year when I started college. I chose biology as my major. I don't have any interest in that whatsoever. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool, but I was like, you know what? I just want to make a lot of money. So then that way, once I do that, I can do the things I want. And I was like, why would I do that? Change my major this year to communications because the only thing that I really want to do is just connect with people about their experiences in life, which is why I do this interviewing thing. Yeah, you guys launched an outlet for exclusive content. What would be going on that?
Well, yeah, we put out a Patreon, and that's something we wanted to do for a really long time, but we just quite honestly didn't have the content. We didn't have anything. And so what's going to entail is there's a few layers to it. There's a few levels. So, I'll just sort of say what we have on there, and you can go on the Patreon and see what it is that you want to pay for. It's like $5, $10, whatever. We'll be putting out everything from, merch discounts to, well, exclusive merch too. We'll be making merchandise just for people that are on our Patreon. Um, Unreleased photo shoots, song demos, like new songs and songs that we already recorded, but like the old, like we put out one of those Unbreakables from our Kiss the World Goodbye record in 2022, I think. And we're like, hey, here's the demo that we recorded in 2020. Just cool things like that. There's polls. Like recently we put out a poll that was like, hey, for the next record we want to do, here's the concept. We want you guys to pick, XYZ. Like you can pick song titles, you can pick the arrangement, or you can tell us how you want it to be released. It's very, very interactive and personal. We'll also be doing and this is a thing that I'm really excited about. we'll be putting out like sheet music and lead sheets and chord tablature for like our songs. Like we put out I put out the piano sheet music for our song I'm Not Gonna Lie, and you can access that and you can learn these things at home. And what we're trying to do is print little booklets, so we can add that to our merch table and everything. Because we have a lot of fans that are musicians as well, and I think it's really cool when people like will post covers of our stuff, and it's like, well, let's give them the tools to really learn it, so you don't have to learn everything by ear. Because we play in a lot of alternate tunings, and a lot of guitar stuffs can be tricky, or the piano runs can be fast. So yeah, there's just kind of everything that we would want to save for our diehard fans that are really supportive and want to show that. We'll also be putting up like rehearsal footage, stuff that we wouldn't ordinarily post on our socials or anywhere else. So it's just a lot of fun stuff, unique content, and it's just for the fans that are really, really invested in what we're about.
Yeah, that's really cool that you guys put out your music and your tabs.
Mhm.
I always see like I'm a big fan of a lot of smaller artists, and I also play guitar, and I always try to learn the songs by ear, and I'm like, I can't do it. I don't know what they're playing. So I
Especially
think
when there's like
that's
weird
so cool.
intervals and like what chord is that? It sounds like an A minor, but I don't know. There's a note in there, and so we're like, okay, here you go. Now you can see it. And quite honestly, it's not as hard for a lot of our songs. I mean, they're tricky, but they're not as hard as they look. It's a lot of gossip and trickery and sonic manipulation.
Yeah, but that is very cool. That's great. I'm gonna go really off topic. I see a karate trophy, I think, in the
Oh,
background.
yeah, it's a Taekwondo award. Yeah,
Taekwondo.
yeah.
What belt are you?
Second degree black belt. I have not done it since I was a teenager because I actually injured my leg, and it kind of took me out of the ring. I did one tournament and I won first place. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. And right around that time, I was like, I wanna do something else. I was like, I think I started when I was like 9 or 10 or something like that. And I got that when I was like 14. And right around then I was just like so into music and the arts and stuff. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll ride this wave out and then I'll do my one thing and then I'm out. And then then I got injured and it was like, all right, you're done. I'm like, fair enough, bye. But yeah, that comes from.
That's sick. Just get the
Yeah,
dub and leave.
yeah. That's kind of what I do. Sometimes I don't get
Yeah.
that. Sometimes I take a hard L and I go, all right, either way, I'm fine.